Hi, I'm Jen Woodhouse, and welcome to the Woodhouse Workshop. After years of building in my garage, shed, kitchen, or whatever space I could find, having a dedicated workshop has been my dream, and I am so excited to share this journey with you. This building is a little larger than a standard two-car garage at 24 feet by 34 feet, so a little over 800 square feet total. Even though our neighborhood doesn't have a homeowners association, I wanted to be mindful of our neighbors and our property value, so we built this shop to complement our home. It is the prettiest shop I've ever seen. You might remember my good friend Josh Brantingham from our hardwood flooring video. He acted as my building consultant / general contractor / sounding board for this entire project. I was so thankful to have his guidance and somebody to gripe to when the contractors didn't show up. After we got the green light from the city, we could prep the site. There was a large tree right where the building had to go, so sadly we had to have it removed. There really wasn't any way that we could build around it, and the guys looked at me as if I had 3 heads when I asked them if it was possible to transplant the tree elsewhere on our property. I did keep some of the wood in hopes of using it for a future project. Next, we dug for the concrete footings. Our local code requires that the bottom of the footing needs to be below the frost line. We went larger than needed and dug for a 24-inch wide, 12-inch thick footing. Then, as an added precaution against frost heave, we insulated the inside of the footing with 2-inch foam insulation boards. We reinforced it with steel rebar, then poured 3,500 psi concrete into the trench. After the footing cured, the masons laid concrete block around the perimeter, then the concrete crew came in and spread gravel all over the whole site, and then poured and leveled the slab. It was so cool to watch these guys work. It was like spreading icing on a gigantic cake. Once the concrete cures, the slab is scored to minimize the risk of cracks and given at least 48 hours before framing can begin. Framing happened really fast. I was actually out of town at the time, so it was so cool to come home to a fully framed building. There were 3 to 4 guys on the framing crew, and they worked like a well-oiled machine. First, they laid the studs out on the ground 16 inches on center, then nailed them to the top plate. Then they raised the constructed wall up and secured the studs to the bottom plate. It's amazing how fast this all comes together. Now it's starting to feel like a real building. We ordered standard 24-foot trusses. We were going to rent a crane to fly the trusses in, but after recognizing that the machine would have destroyed our yard and our driveway, we decided against it. So the framing crew placed the trusses by hand in about a day. I wanted to add a dormer window to the front to match our house. This was just an added aesthetic feature so that it looks like this building was built along with the home 20 years ago. When they first put up the dormer, the arch was a little too severe, so I had them cut a wider arch. It was pretty impressive to see the framer cut a curve with a circular saw. Then the framers attached exterior sheathing to the outside of the walls and wrapped the building with house wrap. Let's take a moment to talk about the sponsor for this video, Simpson Strong-Tie. It's no secret that I love them and their products. We use screw anchors, plywood clips, joist hangers, hurricane ties, stud guards. All of the structural metal connectors and fasteners are from Simpson Strong-Tie. They are the leader in structural research, testing, and innovation, so I can feel safe and confident that my workshop is solid as a rock. There are primarily 2 ways to install anchor bolts. One is to put the bolts into the concrete before it cures, or you can drill them in after the structure is built. Our local code requires that the anchor bolts need to be every 5 feet and within 12 inches of the end of each plate termination. We use the plywood clips to hold the plywood sheathing on the roof. This provides support when the sheathing panels meet edge to edge. We use joist hangers to join the hip trusses to the girder trusses. Our local code also requires that the ceiling trusses be connected and anchored to the top plate with hurricane ties. Then the framers set the windows in place. Once we were all dried in, our electricians came and wired the shop. This thing has got a ton of power. I had them wire it for both 110 and 220 so that I could run the welder as well. Look at this incredible electrical panel. It's a little ridiculous for a 2-car garage, right? But I love it. I had them wire the shop so that I could run all of my big power tools at the same time if I had to. No more risk of flipping a breaker because I've got both the saw and the shop vac going at once. And the gangs are all on separate circuits. Josh owns a premium insulation company in Louisville called Builders Insulation, and so we use spray foam insulation for the walls and the roof. 3 inches in the walls and 6 inches in the roof. This building is going to be locked up tight. For the walls, I chose to use 3/4 inch plywood from Pure Bond. Big thanks to Pure Bond for donating the plywood for this workshop. The plywood's not only strong, but it looks so beautiful. I love that I don't have to find a stud every time I want to hang something up. So if you're building a workshop, definitely consider plywood walls. 5 stars, highly recommend. Because full sheets of plywood are 8 feet long and my walls are 9 feet high, I added a 2x12 as a baseboard, and I still have to add something to bridge the gap up top, but it's not a priority right now. There are just too many projects on the docket before I can get to that. After we put the interior walls up, the HVAC can be installed. This HVAC unit is my favorite thing ever. It is such a luxury to be able to work in a temperature-controlled workshop. I no longer have to freeze in the wintertime or sweat in the summertime. I cannot even tell you how much I love it. I usually have it set to 73, which is my favorite degree. For lighting, we just picked up some LED shop lights from Home Depot. They're linkable, so I plan on adding more in the future. Then Josh and I hung the door and made it into a Dutch door. I'll link the tutorial for my DIY Dutch door down below. And this portico was a last-minute addition. I am so glad that I did it. It's a nice little overhang when it's raining, and these pretty corbels are just so charming. Finally, the soffits, gutters, and garage doors were installed. We put recessed LED lights in the soffits, and these pretty exterior lanterns are from Kichler Lighting. As always, I'll leave all of the links in the description box below. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Jen Woodhouse. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. And give us a thumbs up if you like this project, and visit jenwoodhouse.com for more information. And big thanks to Simpson Strong-Tie for sponsoring this video.